All right, we're gonna dive into 15 woodworking hacks you should know. Stick around to see number 7 because we're gonna see if it actually works or not. First trick's gonna be using a hammer as the nail holder. You see a lot of these hammers have this top part built in right here with a little magnet right here, and you can hold a nail. Now what that's supposed to do is when you make your first hit, it'll line the nail in. That way you're not sitting there holding the nail with your hand, smashing your fingers all the time. A lot of hammers have these, framing nailers are gonna have them a lot of the time. Honestly, I don't do much framing. I don't use it too much. Also don't kind of trust it, but let's go ahead and use it. It worked pretty good right there. Seems to work pretty good. I haven't used it too much. A lot of times I don't trust it, but it seems like worst case scenario is your nail's gonna shoot off that way. And that seems a lot safer than having your finger down there and smashing your fingers, which is almost a guarantee. So looks like that one works for me. Next trick's gonna be when you're using a circular saw to use a square as a straight edge. So first thing you're gonna do is measure over to whatever distance you want on your board, mark your line, use your square to actually draw that line. But a lot of times I just like to actually look in at my blade, see where my teeth are hitting, and then you run it across and make your cut. Next thing I'm gonna show you guys here is a way to bend lumber. Now I've never actually done this before either. I've seen a lot of people do it. You just don't run into a lot of scenarios in woodworking where you're doing curves like that, where you need to bend lumber. Where you can't just cut your material into a curve already. So I've never actually ran into this, but there are a lot of projects out there where you will run into this. So let's go ahead and give it a try, and I'll show you guys what you got to do. One thing you want to make sure to do is set your depth stop on here. So my saw, it's this little tab I flip up and this adjustment screw right here. So that way when I go down, I'm only about a 1/4 inch off of the bottom. All right, so that's one way to do it. You can see how the wood's bending right there. It looks pretty neat. I actually stepped it down to about 1/8 of an inch instead of 1/4 of an inch. And that actually worked a little bit better, and the 1/4 inch just snapped right away. But the 1/8 of an inch seems to be a little bit more malleable there. The only thing about right now is in my shop, it's pretty cold in here, you know. So I'm worried bending wood in cold temperatures really doesn't go too well together. But it does seem pretty bendable, you know. Oh, well, it is to a certain extent. Oh, you guys want to see that satisfying break right there? Let me get close up for this. You ready? Oh, yeah. Look at that. The widest dado you've ever seen. So marking. A lot of times your squares are going to have little notches right here. Mine actually doesn't, but a lot of times they do. They're going to have a little notch right here at, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches or whatever. And if you need to mark a line down a board, this is a pretty good way to do it. Not the best way to mark a line, but it does work that way. If you have an adjustable square, that's another good way to do it too. So I'll put it here at 2.5 inches. Go on, hold my pencil, and then I'll just pull it down like that. It's another good way to mark a line down a board. All right, this one I'm actually pretty interested in to see if this one works. A lot of times what we'll have to do if we're trying to put a screw into the end of the board to do like a butt joint or something, your board ends up splitting, right? So what I do a lot of times, I'll just pre-drill my holes, but even that doesn't work sometimes. But one thing I learned recently is what you can actually do is take your screw, hold it upside down on it, and hit the top of the screw like that. What that's going to do is flatten the tip of your screw a little bit. And I guess that helps a lot with your board not splitting. So let's go ahead and try it. Can confirm that does work. I'm actually kind of surprised I saw that method, and I just wasn't too sure about it. I was like, I'll give it a shot, but man, that actually does work. Let's go ahead and try that with a regular screw and see if we have a split. Yeah, see, that one did start to split a little bit right there. Guess we're going to have to call that tip a success. Finding center of a board. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. One of the first ways I'm going to show you is with a tape measure. So the tape measure, what you're going to want to do is find a point on the board and just hold your tape there and angle it across till your tape is at an even number. It's easily divisible by 2. So we're going to go with 8 here. So if I'm 8 inches across from this point to this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a mark at 4. I measure it on this side and we'll check. We're at 1 3/4 right there. Measure it from the other side, 1 3/4 again right there. So that's an easy way to find center. Another way you can do it is they sell these little things called center finders made by Miles Craft. These things work pretty well too. You know, you got to be working on a material that's not super thick, maybe no more than 2.5 inches. But what you'll do with these is you're going to line, it has a little pencil that comes right through the middle here. I actually lost the pencil that goes with it, so I'm just using a stick of lead right now. But what you'll do, you put the tool on the piece of wood like this, push your lead through, and go like that, then that's going to find the center of that board for you. It's going to draw a line perfectly at the center for you. So that works pretty well. This is kind of what I use most of the time when I'm trying to find center. All right, our final tip here is going to be managing tear out with painter's tape. And, you know, I see a common theme here in a lot of my videos. Painter's tape is something every woodworker should have. You know, get an 1.5 roll, get a 2-inch roll, whatever. Have a bunch of painter's tape because there are a lot of uses that you'll find where painter's tape helps out a ton. When you're using a circular saw to cut plywood, putting painter's tape on your cut is going to help a lot with tear out. Now I'll show you guys what I mean. As I'm cutting here without painter's tape, you see all the tear out that's coming out. So now let's go ahead and let's do that again right over here where there is painter's tape. Now I put about 2-3 layers on here to cover it up good, but it helps out a ton. You guys can see right here, this was the cut using blue tape, and then this was the cut not using the blue tape. Huge difference in the tear out. All right, there's 15 tricks for you. I hope you guys get some use out of these. If you got any other tips and tricks too, put them down in the comments. I want to see, I want to hear you guys' thoughts, see what you guys have to say about some of these, and bring in some of your own ideas. So I appreciate you guys sticking around, and we'll see you next time.